February 28th, the United States launched its first strikes against Iran, beginning a war that President Donald Trump promised would last no more than 6 weeks. 100 days later, at the Palace of Versailles in France, Trump signed what became known as the Islamabad Memorandum of Understanding, a 14-point document that officially ended the deadliest regional conflict in decades. But what happened between the first bomb and the final signature? This is the complete story of the 100-day war, the story of how Trump's dream of a quick victory became a political nightmare, and how he ultimately signed an agreement that appeared to give Iran many of the things it had wanted before the war even began. Come with me as we walk through the 10 chapters of a conflict that shook the world. On February 28, 2026, the United States, together with Israel, launched its first wave of air and missile strikes against Iran. Trump assured Americans that the operation would be short, 6 weeks, he said. Reality proved very different. The quick campaign became a war of attrition. Iran did not collapse. Instead, it responded aggressively and repeatedly disrupted shipping through the Strait of Hormuz, sending energy prices soaring across the world. At the same time, Trump shifted repeatedly between calls for negotiations and threats of what critics described as negotiating with bombs. The mixed signals confused allies and adversaries alike. By the end of the first month, oil prices had climbed above $95 per barrel. U.S. gasoline prices rose from $2.98 to $4.52 per gallon, an increase of more than 50%. Iran announced a full closure of the Strait of Hormuz, threatening global supply chains. By early April, pressure on Trump was growing. The war had not ended. Prices continued to rise, and Republicans were becoming nervous about the upcoming midterm elections. On April 8th, a fragile ceasefire was announced, but it was little more than a pause, a temporary freeze rather than a genuine settlement. Why did it fail? Iran continued threatening American positions across the region. Israel, which was not part of the arrangement, continued operations in Lebanon and Syria. Trump kept changing conditions and demands, making progress difficult. By May, the world found itself trapped in a gray zone, neither war nor peace. Markets swung daily between optimism and fear. On June 4th, something unexpected happened. 4 Republican lawmakers joined Democrats in supporting a war powers resolution requiring Trump to withdraw American forces from Iran within 30 days unless Congress granted authorization. The 4 Republicans were Thomas Massie of Kentucky, Brian Fitzpatrick of Pennsylvania, Tom Barrett of Michigan, Warren Davidson of Ohio. The vote passed 215 to 208. For the first time since the war began, Congress successfully challenged the administration. Massie posted, "The People's House is sending a message: end this war." The message was unmistakable. Trump was beginning to lose control of his own party. Many lawmakers feared voters more than they feared him. It became the first major political setback of his presidency. Trump's pressure campaign did not stop with words. In the days before the agreement, the United States launched its largest wave of strikes since the beginning of the war. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth introduced a new doctrine: negotiating with bombs. "If we have to negotiate with bombs," he said, "then we'll negotiate with bombs, and we're very good at it." Iran's response shocked Washington. Ballistic missiles struck Azraq Air Base in Jordan, reportedly damaging American aircraft. Ali al-Salem and Ahmad al-Jaber bases in Kuwait were targeted. The headquarters of the U.S. Fifth Fleet in Bahrain came under attack. The Strait of Hormuz was closed once again. These attacks forced Trump to confront a difficult reality. The war was becoming far more expensive than expected, and that realization changed everything. On June 14th, Trump posted a message on Truth Social: "Congratulations to everyone." He declared that an agreement had been completed. He immediately ordered the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz and issued his now famous message: "Ships of the world, start your engines. Let the oil flow." Yet confusion surrounded the announcement from the beginning. Why would the White House refuse to release the text? Journalists were denied access. Lawmakers were denied access. Even Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu admitted, "We do not know what is written in the agreement." When asked about the secrecy, Trump responded, "I want the text released myself." Analysts described the situation as an administration celebrating a document that nobody was allowed to read. When the text was finally released, it revealed a 14-point framework that immediately divided opinion. What Iran received: immediate removal of the naval blockade, a pathway toward ending sanctions, a reconstruction framework worth $300 billion, access to frozen assets, commitments related to ending military operations on multiple fronts. What Iran got: a pledge not to pursue nuclear weapons, reopening the Strait of Hormuz, future discussions on inspections and verification. Most of the difficult details were postponed to 60 days of technical negotiations. One analyst summarized it bluntly: Trump gave Iran Iran what it wanted and receive promises it had already heard before. In Tel Aviv, the reaction was immediate. 21 hours after Trump's announcement, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu addressed the public. This agreement was made by the United States, he said. It is President Trump's decision. When asked about Trump directly, Netanyahu answered, "We agree often, we disagree often. That happens even in the best families." Other officials were far less diplomatic. National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir declared, "Israel is not a banana republic. We are not partners to this agreement, and it does not bind us." Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich described it as bad for Israel and bad for the free world. Military analyst Avi Ashkenazi offered an even harsher verdict: Iran is the biggest winner. Only 2 days after the announcement, negotiations hit another crisis. In Switzerland, technical talks lasted just 80 minutes before the Iranian delegation walked out. The reason? Trump's latest threats. That same morning, he told Fox News, "If they close the strait, they won't have a country. I'll blow them up." He even suggested he had threatened to detain Iranian negotiators. Mohammad Bagher Ghalibaf responded sharply, "We do not take American threats seriously." Analyst Joe Cirincione called the situation the Washington joke. Trump promised the war would end with unconditional surrender. The problem, critics argued, was that nobody expected the surrender to look American. Let's summarize. The beginning, February 28th. Trump launched a war he said would last 6 weeks. The stated objective was to destroy Iran's nuclear and missile programs. The middle March through May. The conflict became a war of attrition. Oil prices surged. Hormuz was repeatedly closed, and political resistance grew inside Washington. The end, June 14th. Trump signed a 14-point memorandum that granted Iran many of the demands it had made before the conflict began. American gains. Very little changed. Iran again promised not to pursue nuclear weapons. The Strait of Hormuz reopened. Neither objective was entirely new. Iranian gains. The blockade was lifted. Sanctions were scheduled to end. Frozen assets became accessible. A massive reconstruction framework was created. The biggest loser? For many observers, the answer was Israel. The country emerged from the conflict feeling isolated. Its leadership publicly distanced itself from the agreement, and many Israelis believed their concerns had been ignored. After 100 days of war, thousands of deaths, and billions of dollars in economic damage, the conflict ended not with surrender, but with a memorandum. Trump declared victory. Iran declared victory. Yet both sides continued arguing over what the agreement actually meant. And that leaves one final question. Was this the end of the war, or simply the pause before the next chapter begins? The answer may come sooner than anyone expects. Stay tuned. Write your opinion in the comments. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications to receive all our new videos. See you in the next video.